think I'm back. Good. Good. Hello. Gray Hulk or Green Hulk? Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure yet. Give me a sec here. I want to make sure that I've got the chat window open. So, give me just a minute here. Yeah, I'm back. Not quite ready. Obviously, it's taken me a minute to get set up. I appreciate everybody's patience. I think I've adjusted it properly. Let's see. Red Hulks. Yeah, could be. Appreciate everybody's patience while I get set up with a live stream. They're always fun to create. Well, it's telling me that I have an excellent connection at this point. So I probably lost a few viewers. That's too bad. But hopefully we gain a few more. Let's see. I'm reading through the chat real quick. I'm teaching remotely this year, and your channel has been a great source of good vibes. Oh, that's nice to hear. That's really nice. Hello, David. Hello, Roland. Hello, Canal. Nice to see so many people here. Thanks. Speak up if it starts going real laggy again. But honestly, I think it's a YouTube thing more than a me thing, because I'm monitoring my connection, and my connection's super fast right now. I've got it on a dedicated computer that's like physically plugged in to my internet. It's not like streaming over Wi-Fi or anything like that. So we'll see. You know, hopefully it goes well. And now let's see what we can do about drawing some Hulk. A character I love the Hulk. It's important to me that Hulk looks kind of animalistic, as in like his proportions shouldn't, in my opinion, be 100% human for the dimensions. I think it's really important to give him I like the Kirby aesthetic, where he'd have like kind of a wide waist, a lot of bulk to him. His face, you know, his like nose is up kind of high. He's got a big brow. He's got a big upper lip. He's got he's not 100%. He's not just like a person that's big and muscular like Superman, you know. So it's really important to me to give him some of those attributes, make him not exactly recognizably human. I like a monstrous Hulk. I think that Hulk should have a little bit of horror to him, because he's definitely created with the idea of, you know, being based on like Frankenstein's monster. And I really like the Immortal Hulk take these days, because that's definitely sort of horror. And I think that like Hulk himself should he shouldn't just look like a glamorous, you know, strong dude. I like the artist Gary Frank. I did not really like his run on Hulk, because he gave him like just like a normal face. He didn't look like a monster or anything, and that kind of bugged me. And it's okay that, like, you know, story-wise at that point, Hulk was smart. That's okay, but I still think he should look monstrous. I haven't read Immortal She-Hulk yet, but I did see the variant cover that Daniel Warren Johnson just did for it, and oh my god, did that thing look incredible. By the way, I'm a huge mark for Daniel Warren Johnson. Like, just everything he's putting out, I said this on Twitter, like, I am eating up everything he's serving. To me, Daniel Warren Johnson is currently the most exciting artist in comic books. I love what he does. I'll definitely be doing an episode about him soon, because I just really want to spread the word and talk about what it is that he does that I like, why I think that's so exciting. Yeah, there's a lot, though. Reminds me of guys like Paul Pope sometimes, which is a good thing. Reminds me of who else? I don't know. Katsuhiro Otomo. I think that, like, the technology that Daniel Warren Johnson does is so detailed and exciting. So that's somebody that I like a lot. You just picked up Extremity. Wonder Woman Dead Earth was brilliant. Totally agree. He hasn't done a lot, but everything he's done is interesting. He made his own opportunity by doing a webcomic called Space Mullet, which is cool. And then I think he sort of has been getting recognized because of Murder Falcon. That's just such a weird, cool title. And then more recently, this Wonder Woman Dead Earth. And I think that that's going to get him a lot of fans. Let's see, what else are people talking about? I should do an episode on Brian Lee O'Malley. I would consider that. Big fan of Scott Pilgrim. Very, very enjoyable coming-of-age story mixed with all sorts of crazy, wild influences. Haven't really read Snot Girl, his current book that he's just writing, so I don't really know much about that. I have never heard the name Ethan Becker, so no, Shaylin, I have not watched that. Murder Falcon is way deeper and more nuanced than you might think from a title like that. It was great. I'm also, like, personally, when I look at, like, Hulk, I don't think he has to have perfectly defined musculature as though he has no bad body fat on him. You know, he's strong, I get it, but I think that, like, you don't have to always define every muscle and give him, for instance, you know, popping out veins. It's okay sometimes. There's plenty of situations, scenarios where Hulk could have popping out veins and that would look cool, but I also think he should just sort of just be this monstrous force of nature. Keanu Reeves comic. 3 words I didn't think I needed to hear together. Oh, yeah, there's that Kickstarter, isn't it, for the upcoming Keanu Reeves comic. Could be good, could be interesting. I get the sense that it bugs me a little sometimes when I feel like comics are only being used to put the intellectual property idea out there into the world so that it can then get, you know, a TV show or a movie. And I do get that sense from Berserker. But that doesn't mean that it would be bad. It just annoys me because I feel like comics should stand on their own. Comics are awesome. Comics are the best. Yeah, and it does have a great creative team. I like Matt Kent, so could be good. What do you think is the most important comic book of all time? I mean, I guess it would just have to be one of the very first because, you know, it would be something that's influential. You know, you could make an argument for comic strips, honestly, like you know, Little Nemo or Popeye, tremendously influential to where comics have gone. I don't know. Other than that, you know, maybe you could argue Action Comics #1. It's a tough question to say what's the most influential, which I don't mind. I love a tough question about comics, but a lot of different people are going to have a lot of different opinions. It's tough. You liked my Kevin Eastman video. That was fun. That was fun. You know, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants there because, you know, a lot of information there originally got broken by Gary Groth in the interview in Comics Journal. So I'm, you know, hopefully adding my own opinions and take and stuff, but certainly the information was broken by other sources than me. My favorite Hulk artist was Sal Buscema, Herb Trimpe. Oh, okay. Who's my favorite Hulk artist? I'm thinking. I mean, it's probably going to be somebody that, like, you know, I was exposed to when I first saw the Hulk. So it wouldn't necessarily be Kirby. I kind of discovered him in the late 80s, early 90s. Dale Keown, maybe? That was like a version that I thought was really cool. Would I ever interview Peter Simeti of Alterna Comics? I mean, never say never, but I'll be honest, if I'm being honest, I haven't read anything by Alterna Comics, so I don't really know them that well. I don't know everything. Which is preferable, a comic with great writing but bad art, or a comic with great art but bad writing? Well, the short answer is neither, but because it's a visual medium, I'd have to say great art and a bad script would still be more enjoyable, because a great story with bad art, you're not getting that great story, because it's not, if we're saying it is bad art, then we're saying that the story is not being communicated. So, unfortunately, that doesn't work. But at least good art, you can look at good art. It might not be a good story, but you could at least look at good art. I have not talked about the Bat manga. Yeah, that's a potential. That's not a bad idea. New subscriber. Well, thank you so much. It's always exciting to have new people watching. I've got at this point a pretty big back catalog, so even if I'm not like cranking out videos every week these days, there's still a lot to look at in my back catalog. And I hope someday, folks, that I can get back to cranking out a ComicTropes once a week. Anyone that's been here for a long time knows that, like, for like well over 3 years, I always put out an episode every single week, even when I did international travel, even when I was sick, even when, you know, I was dealing with broken air conditioning and like really hot weather. I just suck it up and I put it out. This year, though, I think we can all agree is a unique, tough year for everybody. And it's really hard. It's been really extra tough for me to do a weekly schedule. I'd love to do that, but in order to produce a good episode these days, I need to take more time, and a lot of that has to do with my personal issues with depression. I don't want that to impact the show. I don't want that to be something that other people, like, the viewers, have to think about. But it's just a reality. I battle depression. I've got a full-time job, and between the two, I'm pretty exhausted this year. Like, this year has been kicking my butt. I'm sure it's been kicking a lot of people's butts. So I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm just trying to explain. I've been having a tough time trying to do ComicTropes on a completely weekly schedule. That said, I am editing an episode right now, and I'm very excited about like 3 episodes that I'm working on right now. So I've got some stuff coming up that I'm very, very excited to share with people and like hopefully open up a conversation. I'm making a comic. Would it be possible to send you a copy when it's finished? Right now, Jack, that's not really possible. Maybe if down the road this channel was making me enough that I felt like I could afford a P.O. box, that would be a possibility. I get asked, not daily, but definitely more than once a week if I can look at somebody's comic, and I'm sorry, that would be nice, but right now I don't have time to do that, and I'm not comfortable giving out my personal mailing address. So maybe someday down the road, if I have enough money from the channel, then I could justify getting a P.O. box, and then people could certainly send me their comic, and I do my best to take a look at it. But right now, I can't promise something like that. Who's my favorite F-list lesser-known superhero? I love Hardware. My guilty pleasure character is Shadowhawk. Probably it would be some sort of a total goofball character that's like, almost utterly forgotten, which makes it hard sometimes to remember somebody like that. That is tough. That is tough. I'd have to think about it a little. If somebody comes, I'll jump in with it. I have heard of the Freak Brothers. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard of that a lot. So I'll read Fabulous Freak Brothers someday. See what my opinion on that one is. Oh, thanks, James. That's really nice. NFL Super Pro. I actually do have some affection for how ridiculous NFL Super Pro is. They're wonderful. My videos are a wonderful haven of calm. Hopefully, we're talking about art. Every once in a while, there might be something controversial or deep and stuff, but I don't think that it needs to be. I have no interest really in running an aggressive channel where I'm just like, crapping on stuff I don't like. There's so many good comics that I really want to talk about what I do like, why they work, maybe talk about some of their drawbacks for sure. And every once in a while, absolutely, I'm going to look at like a comic that I don't think is good because I do think that we can learn from it. I just don't want to do that. Like that wouldn't interest me to do on the daily. So hopefully, in general, my videos are kind of calm. That's I just want to talk about, for the most part, I want to talk about good comics for the most part. Any amount of ComicTropes video is a good amount. Well, I'm trying my best. Lou Ferrigno Hulk or the current MCU Hulk? They both have their charm. The current one looks more like what I always envisioned from a comic, but growing up, Lou Ferrigno was as close as you could get. Like that guy was impressive. Like his physique was, definitely superhuman. And the Hulk show was charming for what it was in many ways. As a kid, you'd watch some of that. Sometimes it was a little boring because you'd just be like, can the Hulk get here? And of course, they can only do like so much with the Hulk, visually, special effects wise. But I do love. I think I've got it in one of my videos for some reason, and I can't remember which video off the top of my head. But there was an episode where the Hulk fights a bear in like this shallow stream, and then he picks it up and like throws it, and it was just like, I don't know, a toy bear or something goes flying through the air. And it was so funny to me because of sort of how fake it looked, and also the idea of the Hulk beating up a poor bear. Like a bear isn't inherently evil; it's nature. That was one of my favorite like moments in the show. Immortal Hulk made Marvel Bruce Banner like the TV David Banner. Yeah, I see that in some ways. I love the videos where he drank weird stuff. Well, thank you. I enjoy doing that, but trying to drink less these days for my overall health. I think it was pretty obvious that I was doing it as a goof, and I was at home. It was a safe environment, but there were plenty of people that thought like, oh, you should drink less, and I'm like, I get it. Like, I'm not like trying to encourage drinking in general. I think it was kind of funny to talk about comics in an inebriated state. I thought that was funny, but I don't feel that I need like gimmicks per se anymore. I like the show. I think if you watched it from the beginning, or if you do like a long sort of rewatch, I think you'll see that the show does constantly evolve. The ComicTropes. I think that like it just changes. Sometimes the stuff I cover and the way I cover it, and I want it to keep changing. Otherwise, I do think it would get like kind of repetitive and boring. Like if I was just making fun of bad comics or something every week, maybe a couple of those episodes are funny, but I think it would get repetitive. So I'd rather just sort of do some real analysis, and occasionally when a good idea hits me, be funny. My natural instincts, just so you guys know, would be to always sort of be funny and just making fun of stuff. Not making fun of stuff, but making jokes about stuff. That would be my natural instinct. It takes more work to put out like an actual review. How often do you go to Japan? It's not like I've got a schedule. That's an interesting question, RJ. That said, you know, I've been 4 times. I've been 4 times, and 3 of those were within like the last three times in the last 6 years. And I really want to go back. Obviously, it's not even an option, so I'm not thinking about it. But yeah. Am I reading any manga right now? A little bit. I read My Hero Academia. I like that. I'm reading Berserk, and I'm reading JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I think that's about it. Berserk and JoJo's, because a lot of people have asked, hey, would you talk about this? So, you know, I got to read a bunch of it so that I can have an informed opinion. So I'm doing deep dives in those these days. Japanese Kit Kat. Oh, man, I love how many varieties there are. They're so fun. That's so fun. Just so you know, like, it's probably never going to happen. This isn't realistic. But if my channel took off to the you know, got to like maybe 250,000, maybe, you know, maybe it needs more, but somewhere around there, I could do this full time. And if I did it full time, I would probably move to Japan for at least a year and, like, you know, just talk about comics there as well. And use that as, like, you know, a place to visit other parts of Asia and Australia and New Zealand and stuff like that. That's my pie in the sky dream. I don't think that that's necessarily something that's going to happen, but I'm just letting you know, like, that's what I would, that's something. That's one thing I would do if the channel, like, all of a sudden took off, because I figured out, like, exactly what people want. But yeah, who knows? Oh, cool. Ikioja, thank you so much for the super chat. Just hopped into the live stream to say thank you for the content, man. You're more than welcome. Thank you for watching. I worked at a local comic and game store for 5 years at this point, and I appreciate the thoughtful coverage. Well, thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. I really, really appreciate that. My local vintage game store has lots of Japanese Kit Kat flavors. They're great. Yeah, and Japan, like, is constantly making new ones, which I appreciate. All sorts of cool, weird flavors. Chestnut and sweet potato and all sorts of amazing stuff. I'm trying to give my Hulk, like, really big hands. I don't know, maybe I went too big, but you know what? Just trying to have some fun, so there are worse things I could do. Any horror movie comic series that you enjoy? I don't know if there's any that I could say that are connected to horror movies per se. In terms of good horror comics, you know, I've always tried to do a couple horror comic reviews every year at October. I don't think I will this year, just to vary it up a little. And I might do horror like later, but I will say Harrow County was one I read last year that I really fell for. I thought that was really cool. There's some 70s Vampirella that's legit kind of cool. You know, I think Walking Dead holds up pretty well as one of the better ones. Yeah, I'd have to think some more. The hand looks cartoony. I will be giving it more definition. Yeah, right now it's a little cartoony, but, you know, we'll get there. So the next video I'll be uploading as soon as I finish editing it is big interview with a pretty popular writer, and I'm excited to get that out. I'm not gonna say who. I'll wait until I finish editing it so that, like, people aren't just like, when's it coming out already? Not that anyone ever really does that. But it should be soon. It should be soon. I should have that ready, and it's a pretty big one. I think there's a lot to learn from it. I think it's pretty cool and interesting. I love doing interviews. Just so you know, like, maybe that's not your favorite part of the show, but I will keep doing that every once in a while. I really like doing interviews and doing a deep dive into how people approach their work. Any favorite Hulk stories from the 80s you would recommend? I don't know. All of Peter David's run was pretty darn cool. That was sort of before they would, like, you know, really always title the arcs, though, so it's a little hard to say exactly what I'm recommending. I'd have to, like, do some research in front of me and say, oh, okay, you know, issue 362 to 367 had, like, a really good storyline. I can't think of that off the top of my head, sorry. But I like Peter David's run if you're talking 80s. He started, at least, in the 80s. Pretty sure. Yeah, he had to have. Are you going to dress up for Halloween? No plans to anyway. You know, I'm curious what everybody out there is planning on doing for Halloween in terms of, like, you know, are you making plans to give out candy on Halloween? I still want to, because I'm convinced that kids will come around. You know, it's relatively safe, I would say, to do that. But I don't want to be interacting with those little germ carriers. Kids can't get COVID-19 as easily. It doesn't, the viral load doesn't attach to their systems as easily, but they can still be transmitters. So I don't think it would be, like, smart to just constantly be opening my door and exposing myself like that. So personally, what I'm thinking of doing is just, I'm going to have to rely on the honor system. I'm going to get a bunch of candy, you know, individually wrapped, of course, and put it in a bucket out front, in front of the house, and just say, like, you know, take one of whatever I put together, and just hope that kids do that. Like, and if somebody just takes them all, there's not much I can do, because so that's what I'm thinking of doing. Not giving out candy this year. Yeah, I understand that. I understand. Ignacio says he's doing Jacktober too. Any Daredevil comics you recommend after Yellow? Personally, I'm not a humongous fan of Yellow. I would just say that, like, you know, Frank Miller's run, to me, is the be-all, end-all. I think Born Again is, like, maybe Marvel's best comic. The Born Again story. Like, not just Daredevil, but Marvel's. So that's, like, at my tippy top. Do I think the work of Terry Pratchett would fit in comics? Maybe. Oh, super chat from Nick. Your videos are such good quality. I know every time I see a video of yours, I'll learn something new from someone who I know works very hard. Nick, thanks for the kind words in this super chat. It really does mean a lot to me. Hearing stuff like that really is fuel in my tank, you could say. You know? It keeps me going, hearing stuff like that. It means a lot to me. It really, really does. Thank you so much. Thank you. I lost my train of thought. I've got a question for everybody out there. What do you collect? You know, if it's comics, cool, but if you collect anything else, chime in. I'm just curious. I won't get to see everything, but maybe some of you will get to see ways that you things that you have in common with each other potentially. I think that would be interesting. What do you collect? Just noticed your haircut looks good. Thanks, Mr. Vic. Would love to see an Eric Larson interview. That would be fun. I love that idea. Who's my favorite artist? I used to be able to just, like, rattle off, like, you know, my top artists, but I don't, oh, that's hard. I would say that, like, some that are really influential would be, like, guys like Will Eisner, and honestly early Frank Miller in a lot of ways. That's a tough one. Soda bottles. Okay, collect VHS tapes, 90s Marvel action figure, pens, hot toys, vinyl records. Cool. Marvel Legends and Transformers. Collect video games. What else? Collect comics, collect a bit of vinyl. Hi from Brazil. Hello. Collect graphic art on Instagram. Okay. Okay. Texiera. Yep. Mark Texiera was great. Favorite horror film? Probably Jaws. Probably Jaws. I love Jaws. I think that definitely still freaks me out in a lot of ways. I grew up on the coast. I grew up in a beach town in Massachusetts, where Jaws is basically set, and so that just always felt very real to me. It scared me a lot as a kid, but I look back and I think the pacing and the characters are so good. Yeah, I like Jaws a lot. I'd count that as a favorite. I'd also say Evil Dead 2 is one of my favorites. The Shining, Suspiria, Mandy. There's so many. I love horror. Scream. The whole Friday the 13th series, the Saw series. Actually, anything that's a series, I'll watch. Yeah, it's not necessarily good, but I'll watch it all. Alright, let's see what else is being saying. My relationship with Kirkman. I met Robert by writing into one of the first issues of Battle Pope. I'd found a spelling mistake, but mostly just complimented him. And because I caught the spelling mistake, he started sending me all of his comics through email to proofread, and he still does that to this day. And we met early on at one of the Wizard World Chicagos. So just the guy I met back in maybe 99 or 2000. Collect movie posters. Okay. Phantasm movies, sure. Cheddar Goblin, exactly right. You can buy Cheddar Goblin now. That's pretty cool. Any zombie movies? I love zombie movies. I love what my favorite's probably Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, I'd say Dawn of the Dead, but what else do I like with zombie movies? There's too many. I like I've got a soft spot for Zombie, the Italian one where somebody gets their eye impaled on a piece of wood. That's creepier. What would you say you struggle drawing in art? Everything. But mostly consistency and also just cars, real life type stuff like that. That's pretty tough without reference. Watching any good TV shows these days? I don't have cable, so I don't watch a lot of TV, but I will say that I do have Amazon Prime, and I think The Boys is fantastic. I made a video about it, but I think that's much better than the comic. I think it's far superior, actually. So that's one. And Schitt's Creek is a sitcom I discovered not too long ago. The Canadian sitcom. I find that hilarious. Final season's about to come to Netflix in a few days. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to The Mandalorian on Disney in less than a month now. Zombie 2. Witch Dawn of the Dead. The original, but the remake is pretty fun. I would say that the remake is probably my favorite of Zack Snyder's movies. I think it's pretty good. Makes enough changes that just sort of takes the premise and goes in a slightly different direction with it for the characters. Yeah. Garth Ennis is so mean-spirited, it's off-putting. I do find that to be sort of true, Roland. I do find it a little off-putting as well. Sometimes I forget you draw. How often do you practice? Not enough, obviously. Not enough. I love drawing. I just would say that I have to prioritize what I can get done with my time, and after work and ComicTropes, I don't have a lot of time to draw. So honestly, you guys probably see me draw almost as often. I mean, I doodle, I guess, every day, but actually just like sitting down to try to like improve, or try to actually like do something sequential, you'll mostly get to see most of what I do. I know something comics related that I haven't really talked about here, though. Oh, wow. Hey, it's C. Kim. Have not seen you on one of these in a long time, but thank you so much for the super chat. That means a lot to me. I definitely see you commenting on, like, cartoonist kayfabe and stuff, so thank you so much. Yeah, I'm doing well. I have not read I Hate Fairyland, but is that one by Scotty Young? Scotty Young's art is fun, if that's who I'm thinking of, but I have not read I Hate Fairyland, no. Train to Busan, yeah, that was a good zombie movie. I liked that one a lot. That was good. Curious about the sequel, but it's not by the same people, so, will it be good? Up in the air. Man, I feel like for a few years there, we were getting a lot of, fairly recently, we were getting a lot of good horror from Korea. There was some really good stuff, because aside from Train to Busan, I'm thinking of The Wailing. I thought that was quite good. There's another one that I'm not quite remembering. I want to say The Handmaiden, which isn't explicitly horror, but has like a few overt like horrific things. And Parasite is also like mostly a drama, but has like some horrific elements to it. But yeah, there's been some good stuff there. You would simp for me? Thank you. A Deathlock movie? Oh, Deathlock is an underrated character, man. Deathlock would be good. When I talked about Dwayne McDuffie, I talked about how much I really liked his take on Deathlock. I thought that it was different and cool and exciting, fun, and had something to say, which was cool. So if I adapted Deathlock, that's the version I'd go with. Who is your favorite Jack Kirby character? Oh, that's a fun question. Let's see, who's my favorite Jack Kirby character? Who is my favorite Jack Kirby character? Probably like the New God stuff. I mean, I could almost make an argument for Darkseid himself. I think he's a great villain. But like, yeah. So that'd probably be my favorite overall. Although, you know what, I am a huge fan of Captain America, and I'm, sort of letting myself forget. Of course, he co-created Captain America. I love Captain America, so maybe Captain America. One of my favorites, definitely. Did I ever draw your own original comic book? I've done some indie stuff, for sure. I do have a comic book coming out, I believe in November. I say I've got a comic book coming out. Let's not overstate things. I did the lettering on a comic book. It's going to be a graphic novel published by Marcosia, which is a European publisher, and I believe it's November that will be coming out. I did the lettering for that book. So that's kind of exciting. It's called Lauxor, Lauxor, and it's about transforming robots. It's written by a really talented and funny guy from Sweden called Daniel Karhunen, and he did this really great story. It's not Transformers, but it's taking some of the Transformers ideas and then just sort of going with it in a kind of new, fun direction. And so he's got some nice artists that he hired. It's a lot of European creators, but he had heard that I did lettering, so he reached out and he hired me, and that was a lot of fun to get to work on. So that will be something. When I know what the diamond order code is, I'll be sure to mention that, like, in a ComicTropes or something. But that will be coming out to stores in whatchamacallit, in November, I believe. At least in Europe. Now that I say that, maybe it will take a little longer until it's released in the States, but I don't think so. I think that they're going to, like, release it everywhere at once. I don't know Gideon's Fall, sorry. You know what? I probably won't have time to do a review of this, and it's actually early on, so that's okay. But it's October. I love, like, reviewing, like, horror comics and stuff, and there's, like, a new one that I thought was really cool. I've only read the first issue. It's called Stillwater, and it's apparently, like, about this, like, quiet town in the middle of nowhere where within, like, the town, you can't die. So, yeah, pretty cool. I would recommend it. Thoughts on Jack Kirby biopic? My current headcanon production is Jay Baruchel as Jack, Aubrey Plaza as Roz, and James Franco as 70s Stanley. You know what? Not a bad cast. Not a bad cast at all. That could definitely work. Grunwald or Brubaker? I love them both, Roland, but I will give Brubaker the edge. Brubaker is one of my all-time favorite writers. All-time. Grunwald had a very fun Captain America run, but Brubaker's amazing. I will do an episode on Hergé someday. Hello Philippines from the United States. Hello, Crumbs. There is a Filipino comic that I would love to have to review on this channel, but no one can ever find it. There was a Rambo comic made in the Philippines, and I would love to review that because it looks ridiculous. I believe it was not licensed or anything like that. It looks awesome, but I can't find it anywhere. I look and talk to people that I know that have been to the Philippines. I talk to comic book stores over there. Nobody can find it. There were some Rambo comics from the Philippines. Hopefully someday maybe I can find one. We'll see. Gene Colan drew the best Dracula. He did a good one. He did good. Man, Colan in his prime was so moody. Like his art, great artist. Totally agree. Totes agree. What else are people saying? Is Dracula a public domain character? Absolutely. Absolutely he is, yep. I have not read the new Lock and Key series, but I did pick it up. I just haven't had time to read it. That's how busy I am. I have a stack of comics that I have not read. I've got a lot of comics to read, but no time right now. Hopefully someday soon. It was a big decision to do this. I could be finishing up editing the current episode alternately. I could let myself do something fun. Like I've got a couple Lego sets that I'd love to build, but I was like, I haven't done one of these in quite a while. I love chatting with the audience. It doesn't hurt to get some super chats, so I thought that this would be fun. Let's see. Have I read any webcomics? I've read tons of webcomics, I was just talking earlier about how much I love Daniel Warren Johnson, and I think his webcomic Space Mullet is way underrated. It's an awesome webcomic. Any obscure comics that you would recommend? Yes. I don't respect Jim Steranko as a person, but I do respect him as an artist, and his adaptation of the movie Outlander a Sean Connery movie in the 80s, was collected only exclusively. It was serialized in Heavy Metal magazine. That's pretty obscure. The only way to get it is to find those Heavy Metal back issues. Great, good stuff. There's a deep cut. Christopher Lee was the best Dracula. Yeah, no question, man. Man, I love the Hammer horror films. So gory and I don't know, just awesome. Just awesome stuff. Love those movies. And Christopher Lee was fantastic. He played Dracula something like 8 times. I mean, I might not have the exact number. Don't quote me on that. But he played him a lot. And he was good. He was damn good. You know who always made really good torn clothing that I really liked his take, but I don't think it would work for how I draw? Sam Keith, like the Max and Sandman and stuff. I love how he did torn clothing. Lots of, unraveling threads everywhere. Very cool looking. Very cool. What is wrong with Jim Steranko personally? He's a piece of crap. You can Google it. Like he's I don't know. We just see the world very differently. Thank you for this super chat from Andrelix67. Thank you so much, #1 fan. I got a dancing peach or pear or something. A pear. I don't know. Thank you. Who is the greater Hulk nemesis, the leader or the Abomination? The leader. Hulk is all about strength. Leader is about the mind. Yes, Hulk should definitely have physical opponents and stuff, but the leader is definitely I think more consistently the bigger threat. Has had bigger wins against Hulk and is the better sort of foil, in my opinion. Yeah. Hope you're all well, Chris. Been missing your streams. Well, I try not to overload people with this. This piece has a Michael Golden edge. Man, wasn't going for that, but I'll take the compliment. Michael Golden is a king. Michael Golden is quite underrated. Maybe he's not underrated, but I don't think he's remembered as well as he should be. Michael Golden's really, really talented. I think that basically, Todd McFarlane was tremendously influenced by Golden and just sort of became bigger than him. And that's sort of why people don't necessarily know Michael Golden as well. Because Todd McFarlane was huge. But he was definitely trying to do the same stuff that he saw Michael Golden do. What pen is that? This is a Pigma fine brush by Sakura. It's a brush pen. And you know what? I used to apologize for using it because it really isn't what a professional artist would use, but I'm tired of it. These are what I love drawing with. So, this is what I draw with. I have other tools. I have brushes and I have pen nibs. But I love drawing with these. It's easy. And I'm not... I would probably use a different tool if I was doing sequential pages for a published book. I would probably change it up for that. But I just love drawing with these. They're easy. Let's see. Did you like McFarlane's attempt to add horror to Spider-Man? Yeah, at the time I loved everything he was doing. I was young. I loved it. How come the same pants that fit Dr. Banner also fit the Hulk? I will say that Reed Richards has given Bruce Banner some pants, and that the unstable molecules allow for them to stretch tremendously. How about that? Just go with that. I think that's the best explanation I can give. They stretch. That's all I can say. And why do they stretch? so that Marvel doesn't have a naked superhero running around. Oh, thank you, L.S. Grieger. Let's see. This super chat says, when are you going to review a Valiant comic? I just watched Bloodshot, and I actually like the movie. Yeah, you're probably right that I really should review Valiant. I've thought about it, and I always have a tough time deciding on which one I basically want to cover first. Like, do I cover, like, classic Valiant and maybe something like, one of their licensed books like Turok? Or do I cover, like, something more from the modern day, like, Bloodshot, or their current, Archer and Armstrong? I don't know. I have a hard time deciding where I would start on something like that. But you're right, Valiant is a big company, and I really should address it at some point. Yeah, Steranko is beyond right-wing, I think. But yeah. Did you get the Giant Size X-Men tribute issue? No. Is that the one where every single page is basically just done by a current popular artist, and they recreate Giant Size X-Men #1? Because I think I heard about that book, if that's what you're talking about, but I didn't pick it up yet. Braulio says, this is merely an appreciation post. Well, thank you. I love what you do, and I hope to see you thriving more every day. Your channel gives me life, brother. Well, that's awesome to hear. That's awesome. Exo Manowar. You know what? Exo Manowar is one of my favorite of Valiant's ideas because it's a little more different than everything else. Bloodshot heals. There's Immortal Warriors. There's the Harbingers, which are basically sort of versions of X-Men. And not that any of it is bad in any way. It's just that, they're variations on ideas. And to a degree, of course, Exo Manowar is a variation on Iron Man, you could say. But what's cool about it is the idea that, it also involves a barbarian from the past, and, that sort of fish out of water element, and how he has a different sort of moral code. And yeah, there's a lot to like about Exo Manowar, at least as far as the idea goes. A Goon episode is always a possibility. I have a lot of respect for Eric Powell. So a Goon episode is always a possibility. If I had more time, I would have loved to have done that as maybe a Halloween horror sort of episode, but I just don't have the time this year. Quick question. I drew you in my comic. Would the few page cameo count as having to do with the show? I mean, if you want to send me a panel or something, absolutely. I'd include that in fan art, of course. How are you liking Hickman's X-Run so far? I love it. I do. Well, maybe love is overstating it. I'm enjoying it, and I'm very curious to see where it goes. I thought House of X Powers of 10 was fantastic. I should say that. That series of 12 comics was great. Great. Super chat from Nothing saying, what are your thoughts on Tom King's Mr. Miracle? Would you ever do an episode on it? I read it recently and think it's my favorite comic. I think it's my favorite thing that Tom King has done. And I did talk about, of course, his Batman run, which is a lot. I could have just as easily, to talk about him, talked about Mr. Miracle, which I like more than Batman. For what Tom King did, I mean. Not as a character overall. But I do like him. Terry Moore, definitely somebody worthy of discussion. Definitely. Let's see. Galactus is more powerful. Oh, I missed something. If you could have any lesser known superhero's power, was that it? Let me just yeah, if I could have any lesser known superhero's power, what would it be? No question on this one. Doug Ramsey, Cypher from the New Mutants. I would take his power of being able to instantly learn and speak any language. I would take that in a heartbeat. Oh my God, I love traveling. How amazing would it be if I could just travel to another country and actually communicate with the locals. That would be a dream come true. I would take that as a lesser known power in a heartbeat. So there, I've made my clever decision for the day. I chose a good superpower. He would take Dog Welder. Plastic Man. Plastic Man's pretty famous, though, but yeah. Can I speak Nippon? No, I can't speak it fluently. I know a number of phrases. If someone was talking to me and I could get them to talk slowly, I can usually understand a bunch, but I would not say that I could speak Japanese, no. What I do is I have a huge wall chart of all the hiragana alphabet and the katakana alphabet. I'm trying to memorize all that. I think I've got a lot of it. I use Duolingo every day to study some Japanese. And Chrissy, for my birthday this past year, got me a subscription with iTalki so that I can communicate with a local, or at least an indigenous native speaker, I should say. And so hopefully at some point I can speak it. That's something that I'd like to do just for myself. Looks like I've got some super chats. Thank you, John. John says, I truly appreciate your channel. Your insightful perspectives and hilariously brilliant narration truly help me de-stress. Thanks for all you're doing. That's really nice to hear. If I can de-stress somebody, mission accomplished. Let's see. Ekioja sends another super chat saying, what's your opinion on Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe? I liked it quite a bit, but I've been a big Deadpool fan for quite a while, so I'm biased. Well, I haven't read it, unfortunately, so I don't have an opinion on that one. I did read back in the day the Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe, which I guess Deadpool is sort of a take on that in a lot of ways. I liked Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. I liked in that one the idea of Frank Castle taking down Doctor Doom, I just don't feel like that should happen. But in the comic, it was pretty entertaining. And the artist in that, I'm trying to remember who it was, but it was really good art. I want to say it could have been Butch Guice, but I could be misremembering. Did I miss a super chat? Oh, I don't think so. I'm scrolling back up. No, I don't think I missed them. Thoughts on the obscure Batman villain, the Skeleton? I don't think I know the Skeleton off the top of my head. Maybe if I read up on it, I'd remember, and I'm not thinking of it. But I don't think I know the Skeleton. Writing kanji is the toughest part of Japanese. Yeah, well, once we get to, kanji, it's not even a lot of Japanese people know too much kanji. I mean, that is a tough language. You memorize certain ones, but there's so much, and it's so intricate. It's, kanji is something I'm giving myself a pass on for now, anyway. Maybe someday I can get to the point where I can do that. For now, I'm going to just try to memorize the ones that are common and learn how to speak and learn how to, memorize hiragana and katakana. That's plenty. Kanji that's a whole nother thing. That is a whole nother thing. But yeah, I'm trying to learn how to both speak and read it at the same time, so hopefully someday. That would be nice. I have read some of Berserk. I read the first huge collected volume, and I have the second one. There's a lot still to read, but it's interesting. I remember Micronauts toys. I didn't have any as a kid, but I didn't have that many toys as a kid either, to be fair. I really didn't. The ones that I got really into were Transformers and G.I. Joe. And I got to a point where, I could get some of my own with, my paper route money, but I don't have any of them now. I gave them all away. Yeah, I remember Batman fighting the vampire called the monk. Good morning from Tokyo. I feel your pain on kanji. Well, Ohio, Justin. Nice to see you. Hajimimashite. Look at those hearts. I just got powered up, so if one of you guys punched me in the face right now, I'm sorry. Kareem just gave me 3 hearts, so I could take at least another 3 punches. Someone told me the hardest part of translating comics are onomatopoeias. Is this true? Well, I haven't tried to translate them, but that does make a lot of sense. I mean, how would you translate if you saw, like, you know, the English word like whoosh or pow or just like, you know, kablam? You know, that doesn't really mean anything. So, and Japanese onomatopoeia sounds are different than what we've come up with. You know, like they'll say that cats say like meow instead of meow, you know, like things like that. I don't know. I've read the first 2 issues of 3 Jokers. First issue interested me a bit. Second issue, like, just sort of made me realize my issues with Jeff Johns, which, if you like his work, totally cool. I can see the fun in it. I don't think it's outright bad writing at all. I don't think that. But I don't think it's that original. I think he just is in love with Alan Moore's work, and he took Alan Moore's Green Lantern ideas, and he took his Watchmen ideas, and now he's taking his Killing Joke ideas. And I'm just sort of like, those are good ideas, but they were kind of like finite stories. Can we just move on with something, with a newer idea? I mean, I know that superheroes don't... I'm not expecting it, like, to be completely original, and I don't mind continuity, but come on, man, like, enough. They have an onomatopoeia for silence. Okay, yes. Bamf, exactly. How would you translate snicked, bamf, thwip? You know, how would you translate that to another language? You can't. Do you prefer Doctor Doom with a single minor scar or just totally scarred? The single minor scar. I think that, like, it's a little more interesting if he only has, like, you know, a little bit of damage, but to him... Well, here's what I think. Oh, hold on. I'll pause real quick. Thank you, Sanity. That's a very generous super chat. Thank you so much. And that's a really cool icon, too. I don't recognize it, but it's like a skeleton that's ready to cook. Yeah, I think that what would be, like, I think Doctor Doom should now, when he's a bad guy, basically, have a scarred face because he only had a little scar, and he was so embarrassed that he put that mask on, and he put it on too fast because he was in such a rush, and then he scarred himself even worse. I like that idea. Dumbass. Like, I like that his ego is what punishes him. You know, otherwise he could probably be, you know, like, the best superhero. I mean, he's so smart and he's so powerful, but his ego trips him up. I like that. He's one of my favorite villains. Love the channel. Dig your art. That's kind of you. Reminds me of Kirby and a little Paul Smith. Wow, Paul Smith. I'll take it. Thanks. I've got dozens of G.I. Joes. Do you, James? I love G.I. Joe. I am getting the G.I. Joe classified figures, but I cannot find the Cobra Trooper that's the Target exclusive. I cannot find that one anywhere. I've got everything else. I like G.I. Joe a lot. I'm a big fan of Larry Hama, the guy who wrote G.I. Joe throughout the 80s and is currently still writing it with IDW. I'm a big fan of what Larry Hama does. What do you think of the Beatles? I love the Beatles. Who doesn't like the Beatles? They're fantastic. So many good hits. I think everybody likes the Beatles. Oh, I don't know what's not to like. I listen to them quite a bit still. Mike Baron or Garth Ennis? I guess I've enjoyed more stuff by Garth Ennis, like, because I liked Preacher, at least when I was younger. Was Doc Ock the leader of the Sinister Six? He was. He was. Traditionally, Doc Ock is the leader there, yes. Why don't you blast some music in the background? You know, I'd love to, but if it's anything that, like, YouTube could claim, then this gets, like, you know, demonetized, and I can even, like, end up with, like, a, you know, a strike or something, you know, if I'm not careful. So, on YouTube, I have to be careful, unfortunately. Let's see. Who doesn't like the Beatles? The Rolling Stones back in the day. Okay. Do I have a favorite comic based on animated movie or cartoon? Well, yeah, G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe, for sure. I read Grant Morrison's JLA. It was pretty cool. You're not getting the hype around it? Well, at the time that it came out, you know, like, the JLA hadn't really had the big seven in quite a while. They'd just sort of been, like, whoever was available. So he got, like, you know, the big names together, and he came up with a lot of, like, you know, he really did sort of popularize the Batman cannot be beaten idea. So, you know, that's maybe a slight knock. But, like, things like the White Martian story was a lot of fun. The Tower of Babel story was a lot of fun. He came up with, like, you know, the Injustice gang, the modern one. There were a lot of good stories there. What do you think of those Italian photo comics like Killing? Fumetti? I haven't read much Fumetti. I think it's an interesting idea. It's very different than what we seem to like here, but I appreciate that comics can be a lot of different things. I'm glad that you've subscribed, Hierophant. I'm amazed to hear that the YouTube algorithm recommended me to you so much, because I'll be honest, while the channel constantly grows, the growth is sort of slowed compared to what I had for, like, you know, like, in the past. So I didn't think YouTube was really recommending me all that much these days. So it's kind of exciting to hear that I got recommended to somebody. Yeah, even if, you know, you're not in a position to do things like, you know, my Patreon or a super chat or anything, just know that, like, if you ever share my video, if you copy that link, and if you hit like, that stuff really helps. That helps the algorithm, and it means that, like, YouTube is much more likely to recommend my videos to people that say, you know, like comics or something. Otherwise, it just sort of hangs in the ether. Tower of Babel was Mark Waid's. Excuse me, it's been a long time, but you're right. Excuse me, it's been a long time. Have I covered Alan Moore in my videos? Yeah, I did an Alan Moore video about Miracle Man way back in the day, and certainly a huge name that I could definitely talk about again. It's just that so many people have talked about him that, like, that's the really only reason why I haven't, like, you know, done a lot of Alan Moore, because I like Alan Moore. I do. Maybe more than the next guy. I just, you know, figure it's been covered a lot, so just sort of looking for some stuff that hasn't been covered quite as much. What's my favorite intro you filmed so far in my videos? Oh, the one I did for Immortal Hulk, because I came up with, like, the gag of, like, that I was immortal, and I wanted to, like, you know, sort of get shot by a gun, so I had to figure out how to make a squib explode. So I was kind of really proud of myself that I designed something that, like, could make blood explode. It was just something I felt like doing, and I liked how it looked, so that's my favorite of the intros that I did. That was a lot of fun for me. Akiko? No, I've not read that. Oh, I'm glad to hear that it's helped you, Matthew. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the compliment, Zach. I appreciate it. Oh wow, we've got a lot of viewers in this. Wow, over 200. That's exciting. That's exciting. I have not been reading Donny Cates' Thor, but I like a lot of what I found from Donny Cates. Like I said, it made me feel a little old because he was using cultural touchstones that were a little different than what I think of and respond to. But I'm aging out of superheroes in a lot of ways. Superheroes, I think, like, are constantly, if you read the same superheroes for too long, you're gonna just keep coming across the same stuff, and that's that's okay. I will do another Brian K. Vaughan episode. I love Brian K. Vaughan, and I'd really love to talk probably about Saga, so that's probably something I will do. Totally agree with you, James. Marvel couldn't exist without Jack Kirby. Just couldn't. Yeah, I heard that, Mahir. Jamie Foxx supposedly is coming back as Electro, and I'm curious if that means he's just playing another version of Electro, or if they're talking about some sort of, like, parallel universes, like, like meeting or something. I don't know what that would mean. But I'll tell you this. I did not care, first of all, for Amazing Spider-Man 1 or 2. They didn't really work for me. And I love Spider-Man. Those movies didn't really work for me. But I do think that Jamie Foxx is quite a good actor. So bringing him in, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Shaw Brothers made a lot of kung fu films. Yeah, they did. Sanjuro with a generous super chat here. The channel has been super therapeutic to watch. Thanks for all the work. Also, don't change the theme song. Oh, don't tell me that. I'm actually working on something that might be a bit of a change. All I can tell you is I really think that this new intro that I'm having made will be cooler. I really think you'll like it. And I will keep the theme song somewhere. Wow, Deo also has a super generous super chat here. Thank you for being you. Thanks for being you. That's what I do. I'm bummed out. I'm burned out on Spider-Man and Batman movies. I can understand that. I can. Those are two characters I really like, so personally I am not burned out on them, but I totally understand if some people are. We've had a lot of them at this point. A lot. You gotta read We Spoke Out by Neil Adams. Huh. Okay, I'll think about that, because the thing about Neil Adams that I was thinking of potentially reviewing next was Skate Man, about a superhero who has roller skates. Not even inline roller skates. We're talking old-fashioned 4 wheels. Not the coolest. I was thinking of discussing that at some point. Now I'm excited about some of the stuff I've got coming out, upcoming for, like, my next few videos. One I'll tell you about, like, because it doesn't really tell you exactly what's going to be in the episode itself. I've been doing research into comic characters that are thinly veiled insults of other working professionals. There's some interesting stuff where professionals just don't like each other and bash each other in sometimes not very subtle ways by creating characters that are like parodies of them. So there's a lot of interesting history there to talk about. So some cool stuff. So that's one thing that I'm working on. Got an interview that I said that I'm editing right now. An interview with a really great writer, and yeah, I mean, I just hope you guys like it. I think you will. I think you will like Funky Flashman, but there's a lot, and there's some meaner ones than Funky Flashman. I might check out the Milestone Media books at some point, sure. What's the most research you put in for an episode? Oh, what an interesting question. The most I put in was probably Cerebus. Talking basically about all 300 issues. Like, talking about, that's a lot of history there to talk about. And I'd also say that Akira was one that I put a lot into, because Akira is also a pretty big story. And I had to prepare that one so that I was ready to do it, because I recorded that one in Japan at the YouTube studios. I was very, very proud of my Akira episode, and I'll be honest, a little disappointed that it didn't get more views. I really thought that, like, I put a lot of work into that one. It was a privilege to be able to record it in Japan. I thought that that was, like, you know, a neat little extra hook, with a beautiful background of the Tokyo Tower. So I was really hoping that one was going to get more views than it got, just because of the work that I put in. But that's an interesting question. Thanks, Nothing. You ever read the new Cerebus Batman Damned parody? No, don't know about that. Are you going to review US 1? I do have that US 1. I don't know if it's ever been seen in my spinner rack, but it is in there. Where did I learn to draw anatomy? Basically just going to live drawing classes. So I think I've got a lot of work compared to other people out there. You know what I'm going to do? Let me erase the pencil markings, and I'll put some colors on this guy, because Hulk is a relatively easy character to color. But here's the question. Should this be Gray Hulk or should this be Green Hulk? I did have one in mind when I drew it, but it could still be either. Did anybody have strong opinions for any reason? What current comics manga do you recommend? Ever going to do something for Durf Back Durf? Also, did you read The Three Jokers? Thank you, Steve, for the super chat. Yes, I'll definitely talk about Durf. Actually, I did make a short video once talking about Trashed, so that's in my back catalog, which I think is a really interesting book. I currently have Kent State by Durf, and I'm looking forward to reading that. I'm a big fan. I like his work. I think that My Friend Dahmer is a really interesting story. True story. It's really interesting, and I think Trashed is underrated. So yeah, I would like to talk about his work at some point. A lot of people saying gray. I like that. Okay, I think most people are saying gray. As long as the pants are purple. The pants will be purple. The pants will be purple. Wait, do I have purple? I don't know if I've got purple. You know what? Fortunately, with with Copics, you can blend colors. So let's see what happens here if I try to blend some colors. Printer mistake gray. Yeah, I've got some gray, so I think that's what I will do, is use these grays. But, we'll see. We'll see what I can do. Yeah. That's awesome, Steve. That's really cool. The classic Hulk. The only thing that would have made it better is if it was Lou Ferrigno. Well, probably you're right. Probably so. So his pants may be blue if this doesn't work, but I'm going to start by giving it blue, and then I'm going to add red, and hopefully they actually do blend, which they should since they're alcohol-based, and I think it should work. We'll see. If not, he's going to have some really dark blue pants, and that'll just be off model. Oh well, we'll get through it somehow, because who cares, right? This isn't going anywhere. Why are Hulk's pants always purple? They've said that that's what gamma radiation does. Like, it changes cloth purple a lot, like, very easily. Doesn't make sense, but it is an explanation. And if they don't turn purple, I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's see, what else could we talk about? It hasn't been a lot of like TV or movies to watch, so there's not much there. I was amused to see today that the Borat sequel will be coming to Amazon Prime in a few weeks. I find Borat and Ali G and Bruno pretty funny. I do, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. We'll see, but could be very funny. Casual jeans day for Hulk. That's exactly right. Let's see. Care Bear says blue pants. Lou Ferrigno, Hulk always wore blue jeans, so you could say it's taking after him if the colors don't mix into purple. Okay, all right. Yeah, The Boys season 2. I'm really enjoying that. Just started reading comics a year or two back. Any good runs or books to read? I am currently enjoying Superman by Tomasi and Gleason and Thor by Walt Simonson. Those are two very good runs. But yeah, if you like those characters, I would also recommend All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. That's a great comic. I would recommend Daredevil Born Again by David Mazzucchelli and Frank Miller. But what else is like more modern, folks? I would say that like Wonder Woman Dead Earth by Daniel Warren Johnson was pretty fascinating recently. Would recommend that. Kung Fu Carrot with a super chat. What happens to his undies? Does he go commando? Yes. When Hulk hulks out, his underwear instantly is shredded, and he only has his pantaloons to protect his nether regions from the vicious, cruel world outside. That's just how it is. Travis Dupre with a very generous super chat. Hope this helps you get a new purple pen. Noted. Thank you. I guess I didn't even realize that I didn't have that color. Thought I had a pretty good mix of Copic markers here. There's tons of them, so I mean I don't have all or anything, but I've got a pretty good amount, and I thought that I had purple. Don't have purple. Wonder Woman Dead Earth came out pretty recently, so that should actually be available in like a trade paperback pretty soon. Hell of a Haynes ad. There you go. Am I reading Three Jokers? I've read the first 2 issues. Wouldn't necessarily... It is turning purple. Folks, it's going to work. Folks, good news. The Hulk will have purple pants. I'll be honest. I think Three Jokers has pretty good art. It was sort of an interesting idea, and now, after reading the second issue, I kind of think it's on the dumb side. I don't know. It feels like an idea that would have been good for like a 2-issue regular comic arc, not something that's like a prestige format hyped up as a big deal thing. Like, it would have been an interesting idea if like, oh, is there more than one Joker? And then like, the reveal that like, no, the Joker just had brainwashed some other people into being duplicates or something like that. That would have been interesting. I don't think it's the kind of idea that warrants this prestige format. Hulk's pants, strongest one there is. There you go. I don't know if they're still making that Spawn movie. Todd McFarlane says that they are, but are they? I don't know. I do not know. Kung Fu Carrot says, which heroes hate Nightwing? He seems likable. Are there any heroes that do hate Nightwing? I don't think so. I mean, sometimes there's been like spats with like certain Teen Titans characters, like little arguments and stuff, but I don't think any superheroes hate Nightwing. I think that they admire him, that like, they find it amazing that Robin has grown into his own adult superhero. I think. Zach Snack, some Canadian super chat money, says, We Spoke Out is a compilation of comics made by Jewish creators that spoke out about the Holocaust in their comics before it was taught in schools. Really? Okay, that sounds very interesting. I would definitely like to read that. I would definitely be interested in that. Because I think that, like, obviously some Jewish creators were doing that even in superhero comics. Because, you know, Jack Kirby was definitely having, like, Captain America... you know, he had him punching Hitler on the first issue of Captain America. That was years before America got into the war. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Red Hood doesn't like Nightwing. Oh, maybe. Opinions on DC's Black Label as a whole. I don't have any strong opinions on it at this point. They haven't really done a whole lot, you know. They've only done like a few Batman comics, but they did do this Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, which was great. So, you know, there's some good stuff in there. There's some good stuff. I'm gonna start with one of my lighter grays here to sort of lay down a base, and then I can always add shadows and darken, but I can't go backwards. So starting with a very light gray. You got Class. Wow. What time zone are you in? That's feels like that can't be America. It's too late. Maybe he means I've got class like I'm classy. I'll be right back. I've got class. I don't need your crap, Chris. This is not classy enough. Maybe that's what was meant. Do the pants look gray? Maybe a bit. Maybe a bit. All I can say is, you know, when I start like laying in some actual gray, maybe the color will pop a little bit more. Like I say, it's not a perfect purple. I blended it. You know, it's a little sort of splotchy and dark. And also I need to get a new camera at some point. This is not the best camera. I need to get one that can really focus and show you some detail better. But not 100% sure what one I should get yet. That is something I'm a little hung up on, trying to figure out what camera I should live stream with. I feel like I'm not telling enough stories. That I should tell more stories. I've got to have some from like going to conventions and meeting different creators, or just having life experiences and stuff like that. What kind of a story could I tell? I'm always classy. I've been in a tuxedo once or twice in my life. I associate tuxedos with class because I grew up watching James Bond movies, so I just assume good suit, class. Favorite Hulk artist? I think I said earlier, I think it would be Dale Keown. Don't know what Dale's doing these days. Is Nathan Fillion's character in Suicide Squad 2 actually Arm Fall Off Boy? I think that's a good guess. I don't have a better guess looking at him. I can't like look at that and go, no, it's definitely like, you know, obscure superhero X. I don't have a better idea. So I think it's entirely possible. Seems like the kind of thing the director would want to do. Hey, it's my sister. How's it going, Jean? Thanks for jumping in. I am drawing the Hulk tonight. Heard you got to have a nice picnic lunch with our dad today, so that's awesome. I'm jealous. I miss you all. My family's all on the East Coast, and so, you know, with this pandemic, I haven't been able to visit them all year. It's tough sometimes when you like your family and you want to see them, you know? Nice suit like Joe Fixit. Well, this isn't necessarily Joe Fixit. I was definitely imagining, since I'm doing, like, you know, Jacktober, I was thinking the original appearance of Hulk. He was gray, he was monstrous, but he was a little more clever than the sort of savage brute he became. It wouldn't make sense to put Arm Fall Off Boy in the movie, though, since he has no association with the Suicide Squad, not even the same time period. Yeah, you've got a point there, Care Bear. That's the only thing I can think of that would make him not, like, a good fit. But, on the other hand, I'm not 100% sure all of those superheroes that they've used have canonically been in the Suicide Squad. I don't, like Polka Dot Man, like, I don't think he was ever on the Suicide Squad, for instance. And there's a bunch of other, like, weirdos in there. I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure, like, a dozen of them are gonna get killed off, like, in the first act. That's what I see happening. They're just loading it up with some nobodies, and making it so that it's not predictable which ones are going to make it and which ones aren't. But I expect a bunch of them to die right off the bat. Yeah, Mongol is in the movie, and I don't think Mongol's been a what do you call it, a Suicide Squad member. Why isn't anyone using the term Inktober? Because the guy that came up with that term, Jake Parker, was revealed to be a plagiarist earlier this year. He released an art book that was completely plagiarized by another artist, Alfonso Dunn. So nobody really wants to use his term. Because he also comes after people for using the Inktober term in anything published. He wants the hashtag to be used, but if you actually published like a sketchbook and put Inktober on it, or specifically like if you use the logo or anything, he'll come after you with a lawsuit. So no, the Peacemaker series does not mean that he's surviving. The Peacemaker series has been explained that it's definitely a prequel, so that leaves it open. We'll see. If you were a huge, monstrous guy like the Hulk, would you rather be green or gray? Which would you rather be if you had to, like, run around as one of those colors? Me? I think I'd rather be green. Have a little bit of color. Gray looks unhealthy. Yep, Peacemaker was originally part of Charlton Comics. If you've ever watched or read Watchmen, the character, the comedian, is based on Peacemaker. It's pretty well known that each of the characters in Watchmen was originally written as though they were going to be Charlton characters, and at the last minute, DC was sort of, well, not the last minute, but like as it was in development, DC was like, you know what, Alan, we don't want to kill off the Charlton characters that we just bought for like a bunch of money. Can you just sort of like make some changes? And so he just sort of changed their names a little bit. But yeah, like each of them is analogous to a Charlton character. And Peacemaker became comedian. All right, looks like I almost missed a super chat here. Green, why not red? As a masshole, says Sanjuro, I was surprised learning New England Comics was one of your early memories getting into the hobbies. Any other shops experiences from back then? There weren't a lot of comic book stores, honestly, like around. Like I had to travel like 30 minutes to get to the closest New England Comics when I was a kid. And I'm saying I was a kid like means my mom had to drive me. I wasn't old enough to drive, so it was a big deal to go to New England Comics. It was amazing seeing all these new comics that I'd never heard of and you wouldn't see in the newsstands. You know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles especially, like, wowed me. Other comic stores, like, they did eventually like open like one or two in the 90s, you know, comics were huge, and there were like two different sort of small stores that opened in my town. Neither of them lasted that long, though. So I don't really have any big memories of them. I mean, it was convenient. It was nice that there was a store that was convenient, but neither of them really lasted long enough for me to have any big memories about it. Mel and I were just reminiscing about bringing you and Morgan to NEC. Yeah. It was good times. It's good times. I believe you said before that you've made your own comics or worked on some. Any published you recommend? I mean, I've done a lot that was more self-published, so I don't really have those that... There'd be nowhere that I can think of to direct you that you could get those. But I've done a lot of self-published comics throughout the 2000s. But some of the stuff I've worked on you can get, and that's going to be more stuff like... I've illustrated like stories in some smaller not smaller anthologies, big anthologies. One is called Trickster, which is all written by Native Americans. And I got selected by, like, the authors aren't comic book authors, but so they got to sort of see a bunch of comic book artists and choose who they thought would best fit their story. And so I did a story in that I really liked working on, and I've done some stories for something called Colonial Comics. So those are some educational comics. If you went back and looked at like early stuff that Kirkman published, like Battle Pope, Invincible, you're going to see some of my fan art in the back there and letters that I wrote in and things like that. And then, what was I just thinking of? I've got a comic coming out. I shouldn't say I've got a comic coming out. I worked on a comic that's coming out in November called Lauxor, Lauxor. I did the lettering on it. Because I try to know how to do a little bit of everything in comics. And so, yeah. Super Submachine Gun says, enjoying your content, Chris. I love the comic book ads episode. You cracked me up every time you revealed the scam for each ad. That's so nice to hear. That was a lot of fun to go through that history and like dig up some of that stuff. That was a lot of fun. Thank you for the super chat. DC has done a pretty good job of integrating the Fawcett quality in Charlton Comics characters, but I don't think they've ever done a very good job integrating Wildstorm. Yeah, I guess so. Eric asking again if I've read Three Jokers. Again, folks, yes, I've read it. I've read the first two issues. And I would say it's good art. It's a little bit of an amusing concept, but I don't think it warrants the prestige format because I think it's kind of dumb. I think it's ultimately kind of dumb. It's still crazy to think you could actually order an actual monkey in the mail. I know. That is just bonkers. That poor creature. That thing must have just been terrified for its entire journey. I mean, that is just crazy. What else? Outside of TMNT Volume 1, do you have any particular issue or arc you love? Is that specific for TMNT? I would say that I also like Rick Veitch's story with that blood-sucking worm that sucks some mutagen out of the turtles and becomes like a big enemy. That was an arc I liked. Purple pants are looking a little more tie-dyed. Yeah, it didn't exactly blend perfectly, but, you know, I don't know what I expected. I tried and failed. The moral is never try. I believe that's a Homer Simpson piece of advice. Man, I haven't watched The Simpsons in like 10 years. I wonder if it's gotten any better, or if it's like kind of still not as good as it used to be when it first came out, or what. I have not. Anybody still watch The Simpsons? I used to watch The Simpsons. I used to like it quite a bit, but I haven't watched it in a very long time. Hulk's got a little ketchup on his pants. Yeah, that's for sure. He's got a little something on his pants. Oh, Hulk. Oh, Hulk, what have you done this time? Me spill ketchup on pants. Perfect impression, as always. Oh yeah, by the way, if you've never been here before to experience that, I can always do a flawless impression of any character or actor. Carlos Zepeda says, bought Space Ghost first series of 6 issues. My only reference of him was the TV show and didn't know he had a comic book, so I bought it. Thoughts? I would say that, like, you know, Alex Toth, who designed him, is one of my favorite artists. So that's my biggest takeaway there, is that I think that, like, Toth is just a genius when it came to comics, and I wish he did a lot more than he did. Yeah, that's about it. I loved Space Ghost. Okay. You have the best Stan Lee voice. Thank you, true believer. This is Stan Lee coming to you from the grave to tell you that you are something special. I don't know. Face front, true believers. He used to do the narration for the Hulk cartoon in the 80s, and it was pretty entertaining stuff. Stan was a ham. He loved being the center of attention. But you know what? While a lot of people will, like, you know, criticize him for, like, maybe taking too much credit, all I can say is that, like, maybe there's an element of truth to that, but he also definitely was a cheerleader for comics and got the word out about them in a way that I don't think really anybody else could have. I really don't think so. I think he did a lot for comics in terms of the way he promoted them, and I give him credit for that. I met Stan a few times. Nice. Me too. It was awesome. I got to interview him once. That was a privilege. I used to have a podcast, and I interviewed Stan on the podcast. It was definitely a privilege. It was nice. Are you friends with Justin Roiland? Asking because of the Mario video. I would not say friends, but he did used to have a podcast called the Grandma's Virginity Podcast, okay? And honestly, I'll tell you, one of the funniest podcasts ever. You can still look it up. It's hilarious. And I interviewed him as well for that same podcast that I was just talking about Stan Lee on. And so we knew each other a little bit there. I did get to meet him at a convention once, and for his podcast, I did several pieces of artwork. They would have, like, artwork for, like, you know, each episode, like almost a title card. And I did about 3 or 4 of those. So he might remember me, but I would not say that we are friends. No, we don't, like, hang out or talk regularly or anything like that. He did become good friends with my friend Robert Kirkman. I will say that Robert is a friend. So we know each other. I'll leave it at that. And I really like Justin. I think he's hilarious. I think Justin's really funny. I think Rick and Morty is very good. The fact that he does it with Dan Harmon. I've been a fan of Dan Harmon because I've been following him since he worked on the comic book Scud in the 90s. Rob Schraub's Scud. It was really Rob Schraub's, but Dan Harmon did help write some of those issues. He was a co-writer, and he wrote some backup stories and stuff, and I've been following him ever since. So when they did stuff like Heat, Vision, and Jack, that was a pilot that never got picked up that I definitely recommend looking up on YouTube. Heat, Vision, and Jack. Hilarious TV show. And then he created Channel 101 and created shows like Laser Fart, which is a superhero that farts a laser. I'm a big fan of Dan Harmon and of Justin Roiland. So to see them have success these days is really, really rewarding. There's a lot of friends in common and stuff. Like for instance, Dan Harmon was the showrunner of Community. He created the sitcom Community, and my good friend Ken Jeong was one of the actors on that. So I know people that know people more than I know people. I'll leave it like that. You've got some connections. You've mentioned Travel Foreman before. Yeah, Travel I know. I've talked to Justin and Stan Lee multiple times. Yeah, I've interviewed Rob Schraub. Yeah, he looked blackish in some panels, and the artwork lost detail. Heat, Vision, and Jack is incredible. Exactly right, JoJo. So funny. So funny. Do you have a comic that you own multiple copies of? I'm trying to think. I think the only one I may still have multiple copies of would be Walking Dead #1. Like I said, I was friends with, or am friends, I still consider him a friend, with Robert Kirkman, and I visited him once in Kentucky when he lived there, and Walking Dead had just come out, and I got like 20 or 30 copies of Walking Dead #1, the first printing, and I got them to give out to people to spread the word, and I gave away almost all of them. I still have two. I still have 2 copies of that. That's probably the only comic that I have multiple copies of. Yeah, Ken Jeong is definitely somebody. Ken is a good friends. Yes, I'm good friends with him. He was doing his medical residency down in New Orleans when I was a college student there, and we were both into stand-up and improv, and we became very good friends and have many of the same friends in common still from that time. And it's been awesome seeing his success. It's just been amazing. Really hard-working guy, really funny guy, really kind. He's so kind. He's so generous. So it's awesome to see somebody like that have success. He deserves it. He does. He works so hard. Favorite Sandman story arc? Oh, that's a tough one. What's ooh. I'm stumped. I'm also having trouble thinking of the story arcs. What was the one with Shakespeare that was drawn by Charles Vess? That was one of my favorite Sandman stories, so I'll just put that one out there first. I feel like I was just name dropping. I wasn't trying to name drop. It came up, and it's always exciting to talk about some of the people you know who have become successful. It is exciting to know these people and to have known them before they had any success, and to see how they've been able to maintain a level head with success. I think that speaks to a lot of these people's character. I think that Kirkman's a great guy. I think Ken Jeong's a great guy. Justin Roiland's a great guy. They are. They're just good people. And good people, that's something, honestly, I think that a lot of, not every successful person, but a lot of successful people do have that in common. They're approachable, and they're collaborative, and they're friendly, and that's a big part of why some people become successful, because they know how to treat others. Favorite Spider-Man artist? Stuart Immonen. Do you know the art of Sarah Pichelli? Yes, she's incredible. She is great. You know what? Maybe I should do an episode on her. I feel like sometimes I just don't happen to talk about women enough, women creators. So, yeah, that would be good. So, I think that'll do it for, like, a Hulk sketch for the day. I don't know. That was fun. Let me see. I'll use one of these sort of medium things to blend this a little bit more. Just out of curiosity, so see what happens. But this has been a really fun live stream. Maybe because I haven't done one in a little while. It's really fun to talk to everybody about comics and collections and entertainment. It's a tough time. Like we can't really socialize as much as we used to. So it's a big deal to be able to have some conversations like this. It's fun. Thank you, everybody. It means a lot to me. John Romita's Spider-Man, sure, that was good. Favorite comic featuring an ape? Oh, that's fun. All right, favorite comic featuring an ape. You know what's an underrated one? Sky Ape. Sky Ape was hilarious. That look that one up. And also Rex Mantooth with Andy Kuhn as the artist. That was a very cool comic. So those are two that I'd say like are really cool comics with an ape. Hulk hold invisible donut. Yeah, maybe that does look like he should be holding something here. I think that was just sort of, I was trying to make him, start to make a fist. I like Hulk pulling his arms back and, just sort of, Sky Ape. At least somebody out there knows who Sky Ape is. That's pretty funny. I do like Art Adams. Art Adams is a very talented artist. My God. Almost done here, but I really am grateful for how many people came in and added to the conversation. Thank you very much, everybody. You've helped make this a really fun night. And from here, I'm going to continue working on ComicTropes. I'm just going to work on editing that episode. Hopefully that's something I can either have up tonight or certainly by tomorrow. So there'll be it's an interview episode, just so you know. Detective Chimp. What's your take on Spider Carnage? Didn't read Spider Carnage, I don't think. Sorry. So let's see. Is this centered enough? I think that's pretty much centered. Let me see here. Oh, I know what I can do. I can zoom out. That's a thing I can do. We'll go into camera control and there. Now you can see everything. Delightful. Oh, I wish this camera was a little better with its detail. That's just a little bit fuzzy. That's so frustrating. You can sort of see even my hand. It's not like perfectly in focus, even though that's colorful and there's contrast there. Like there's more detail here, but just can't do much about it. I need to get a new camera. Who's a popular character you never got into? A lot of the DC characters I haven't really gotten into. I wouldn't say that I'm huge into Green Lantern, for instance, you know? But anyway. All right, folks, I'm going to take off. Thank you so much for the conversation, for being here. Keep your eye out in November. I've got a comic that I did the lettering on. That's called Loxor. I'll be promoting that on my social media. Published by Marcosia. What else? I've got some ComicTropes episodes coming up that I'm excited to show you, so definitely keep your eye on the channel. And what else do I have? I don't think I have anything else to promote, but I appreciate the super chats and the conversation. Tell you what, before we go, why don't I give you a cameo? Milo's here. This is my cat Milo, and Milo's getting to be a little bit of an old man. He's 16, but he's become much healthier lately because we figured out that we needed to give him just a tiny bit of hyperthyroid medication every day, and he's got a lot more energy, and he's eating a lot more, and this is my buddy. So just wanted, he wants to say hello to all of you. This is the guy that calms me down. This is some of you have said that like my episodes are like, you know, calming and relaxing during this time. Well, this guy does that for me. This is my buddy. He's my friend. Mwah! I love him. Sorry to get all sappy, but he was purring and sitting beside me, so I think he wanted to be on camera. And with that, I think that that's a pretty good note to end on. I've had a lot of fun, everybody. Take care. Keep reading comics. I'll see you real soon. Bye. Let's see here. We hit end, and I think that under